This is a presentation of the text analysis of Folly from Letters and Papers from Prison. Written by Dietreich Bonhoeffer in 1943, while he was imprisoned by the Nazis during World War II. Genre of this letter, it is a personal letter, and although it is a theological essay, we find that it also has a political dimension. Bonhoeffer was a German theologian and a Christian imprisoned for his opposition to the Nazi regime. Primary audience of this letter were Christians, theologians, so sharing the schematic knowledge of Christian doctrine, and audience may also include civilians in his age who were questioning the Nazi regime and seeking morality. We also have to remember that this letter had the secondary audience, the Nazi censors and the prison guards. So given this condition, Bonhoeffer's mode of communication, the letter, was constrained by censorship. This context is crucial for understanding why the letter uses coded language to convey political critique. The main purpose of this text is to warn against the moral blindness caused by the Nazi ideology. The text refers to the concept of folly, arguing that it is perpetuated by those in power. So this is the entire passage. It is 714 words and consists of 4 paragraphs. Now, I'd like to explore the problem-solution pattern in this text using Michael Hoey's framework. The problem is introduced early with the word dangerous appearing 3 times in the first paragraph. This repetition acts as an evoking signal, alerting the reader that folly is a problem. Next, in the second paragraph, the text shifts to describing the nature of folly, not as an individual flaw, but as a systemic issue linked to power structures. This functions as the situation stage in Hoey's SBRE model. Then the text moves on to describing the state of folly, which signals the problem. If we look at the final sentence of the second paragraph, the phrase, "Here lies the danger of," acts as a clear signal of the problem. In the third paragraph, we see the word overcome and cure, which serve as inscribed signals of the solution, explicitly signaling the solution to folly. Bonhoeffer suggests that folly can only be overcome through an act of liberation, emphasizing that instruction alone is ineffective. The final sentence of the text introduces the evaluation stage where the effectiveness of the response is questioned. The evaluation is negative. Bonhoeffer suggests that even if liberation is possible, those in power may have no interest in freeing people from folly. The evaluation links back to the problem, reinforcing the idea that folly persists because it serves the interest of the powerful. The text also strategically balances certainty and hedging. A phrase like, "This much is certain," signals strong certainty and establishes authority. We also notice the use of focusers, such as fronts, in "Against folly we have no defense," and negative inversion in "Neither protest nor force can." They add clarity and strength of argument. On the other hand, we see less certain expressions being used, which I've highlighted in green. Here we find it-there structure, such as "it seems then that," which soften its assertion and making it more objective. This mix allows the argument to sound authoritative while at the same time avoiding being dogmatic. Next, I'd like to focus on nominalization, a type of grammatical metaphor in which verbs are shifted to nouns. I've identified and highlighted quite a few words, but in general, nominalization has the effect of turning the verbs into abstract concepts with higher lexical density. It also makes the word more impersonal and objective, which was suited for Bonhoeffer in this context as he was making indirect criticism, but without naming specific individuals or parties. Both of these noun forms, operation and exploitation, takes away or hides the human agency and turn them into an objective process or phenomenon. and that way it has the effect of avoiding direct criticism under the censorship. Next, I'd like to turn to the repeated words and how they contribute to the cohesion of the passage. Some of the key themes, such as folly, power, and liberation, are repeated throughout the text in slightly different forms. The word folly is repeated 11 times, and fool for 10 times, and foolish 2 times. This consistent repetition reinforces the text's central theme, ensuring that the text remains cohesive by continually returning to the central idea of folly. As the variation of folly, I've also listed the terms such as dangerous, deprived of independent judgment, and a passive instrument. They are not direct synonyms in conventional terms, but in this passage they could be counted as complex repetition or paraphrases. The word liberation is repeated 4 times in the passage, and the word itself is highly abstract. It is expressed in 3 different forms: an active liberation, outward liberation, and inward liberation. The words that are highlighted in green, such as instruction and reasoning, are contrasted with the word liberation. They're not antonyms in direct ways, but they are semantically contrasted in this passage. I'd like to look into the repetition of the word liberation more closely. So the sentence, that folly can be overcome, not by instruction, but only by an active liberation, contrasts liberation with instruction and suggests that liberation is the only solution to the folly. Here, liberation can be interpreted as external influences, political freedom, as opposed to instruction, which suggests knowledge and education. So the sentence could be interpreted as suggesting that mere knowledge is not enough. People must be freed from totalitarianism, suggesting to act out to break free from the system. So it is a call to an act of rebellion. Finally, I'd like to focus on the semantic gravity of the language, that is, the abstract and concrete use of language. As we have seen, many nominalized words were highly abstract. On the other hand, there are words that are used in concrete ways, which allows the readers to identify these behaviors or acts in real life. I've highlighted those concrete words in green, words with strong semantic gravity. And they include words like slogans, catchwords, which appears to be a rather direct reference to Nazis' propaganda techniques. Most other words refer to how folly manifests in real life, using words like self-satisfied, stubborn, and metaphors like spell and blinded. There is a biblical quote towards the end of the text, and I've categorized this as being highly abstract. By citing the Bible, the author is giving the impression that it is a religious text rather than a political comment. However, if we read deeper, even this biblical citation can be interpreted as having political criticism. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of the wisdom, indicates that wisdom comes from God and not from the state. So this text, while appearing to be a religious advice, it is contrasting state loyalty with faith for God. And in this way, it seems that the author is hiding a political statement under the veil of religious language. This is my reference. Thank you for listening.